You guys, I just accidentally recorded myself with slow-mo. I have no idea what I'm doing. I miss seeing you. I miss actually being able to be together face to face and talking that way. In the meantime, I'm really thankful for technology and how we can connect, even in these weird days. I'm looking forward to Sunday and our Zoom call again. I hope you can get in on that. It's so good to see each other's faces. In the meantime, I want to ask you a question coming out of John chapter 4. We're right at the end of John 4. And Jesus, he sits down with the woman at the well and he has this beautiful exchange with her. And she runs to the village and she tells everybody about her experience and she brings them back. And here's the question. You ever had somebody who just tried to convince you to believe in Jesus, or they had an intellectual argument and they tried to stack up all the different pieces of evidence and then say, now you need to believe? How'd that go for you? You wrestle with that kind of approach? I want to point to this in the story of the woman at the well and what she did as an example of why I think just sharing your experience with Jesus is way more powerful than just simply having an intellectual argument with somebody else and trying to compel them or convince them even to follow Jesus. So here's the verses at the end of John 4 that talk about people coming to Jesus after the woman shared with them. John 4:39 through 42 says, many Samaritans from the village believed in Jesus because the woman had said, he told me everything I ever did. When they came out to see him, they begged him to stay in their village. So he stayed for 2 days, long enough for many more to hear his message and believe. Then they said to the woman, now we believe, not just because of what you told us, but because we have heard him ourselves. Now we know that he is indeed the Savior of the world. Now we believe, they say, not just because of what you told us, but because we have heard him for ourselves. You guys, this is so important. The woman didn't try to argue with them. She didn't even try to convince them to believe in Jesus. She just shared her experience with them and then pointed the way to them so that they could go experience Jesus for themselves. And then once they did, belief followed. There are things that we can know intellectually. Belief in Jesus isn't just blind faith or like turning our brain off and ignoring real evidence. But if people had only heard all about Jesus and had never heard him for themselves, they just chalk it up to a cool story, maybe. She runs and she tells them what she experienced, and then they went and they heard him for themselves. And that's when they were changed. I love what one character in the Chosen series says. By the way, if you haven't seen The Chosen yet, check this out. I have never experienced more emotion watching a Jesus movie or a Jesus series than in watching The Chosen. I love what this character says. She says, I was one way, and now I am completely different. And what happened in between was him. Jesus told this woman at the well all about herself. He both knew her and he loved her. The same is true for you. God both knows you and he loves you. And he wants you to hear his voice. And he wants you to follow him because you've experienced him. Do you know Jesus this way? Have you experienced him for yourself? Does all this just sound weird to you? I mean, that's okay too. If this stirs up questions for you or conflict in you or even encouragement, feel free to reach out. I promise I won't try to argue with you. I won't really even try to convince you. I maybe just will point you in the direction toward Jesus yourself. Love you guys. I'm praying for you. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.